Welcome in, whiskey freaks, to the Blind Tasting Podcast. I'm John Stark, your good and faithful host. And today, we're just going to get straight into the bourbony goodness today, guys. The bourbony goodness that we all know and love. I've had a few things on my mind lately, and we're going to talk about some news. And then we're going to get into a pour of something that, well, you guys picked it for me. You guys picked what I'm going to review today on the podcast. So let's get after it. And if we do it right, we might just learn something while we're at it. I got a new release from Wyoming Whiskey to tell you all about. I got a big announcement from WhistlePig. And I want to talk about this. I want to ask the question today, could MGP be sold? Hang on, guys. I'm going to talk about it today. It's going to make sense. Hang in there with me. And finally, I'm going to taste and review something that you all picked, IW Harper 15-year-old straight bourbon whiskey from our good friends at Diageo. So right out the gate, I got some news. And it's been a long time since I paid much attention to the news, actually, between the holidays and family time and all that good stuff. I did a Splash and Dash episode recently, my interview with Switchgrass Spirits, which I want to encourage you all to go back a couple episodes. Check out the episode where I interview Nick Colombo at Switchgrass Spirits. Cool cat. It's an employee-owned distillery. Very interesting stuff. Check that out. So what I'm trying to say is I kind of veered off here for a few weeks, but now we're back at it. And Wyoming Whiskey, they have released a new limited single barrel bourbon, and it's called Barrel Strength Bourbon number 6429. I don't know what that means. According to them at Wyoming Whiskey, it's simply too good to blend. The barrel was selected by master blender Brandon Cook from the distillery's 8 rickhouses in Kirby, Wyoming. This is a wheated bourbon. It's bottled at full barrel strength, and it comes in at 124 proof. Wyoming Whiskey only pulls 1 or 2 barrels per year for this barrel strength line, and they keep them separate from the standard lineup. Now, production is extremely limited, and there are usually fewer than 500 bottles of this offering. Now, the mash bill is 68% corn, 20% wheat, and 12% malted barley. And fun fact about Wyoming Whiskey, all Wyoming Whiskey bourbons are aged for at least 5 years in new charred oak barrels. The distillery points to Wyoming's large daily temperature swings as a key factor in helping that aging process. And they always age everything for at least 5 years. That climate out there increases the interaction between the whiskey and the barrel. They say that results in more concentrated flavors. That makes sense. Now, official tasting notes for this barrel strength 6429 offering from Wyoming Whiskey, they describe it as aromas of honey, apricot, vanilla, and toasted almond. On the palate, the whiskey is said to deliver cinnamon, caramel, graham wafer, and powdered sugar, followed by a finish featuring coffee cake, creme brulee, cinnamon, and caramel. It sounds like dessert to me. Now, the MSRP for this barrel strength number 6429 is... nothing. I checked 5 websites online, the usual suspects, including the Wyoming Whiskey website, and there's no info to be found about the price of this barrel strength offering. But, and this is good news, I reached out to the good folks at Wyoming Whiskey, and believe it or not, after just a couple days, they got back with me, and they told me that this offering is $299.99. So I guess you better stop by the Title Max on your way to the liquor store just to be sure you got enough cash for this barrel strength release. So I mentioned several weeks ago, actually I think it was back in November, that I'd accidentally visited the WhistlePig tasting room, like the only one that there is, and it was in, of all places, Quechee, Vermont. And now, WhistlePig's finally got with the program, and they have opened a new tasting room in Louisville, Kentucky, and that makes a lot of sense. I never figured out why in the hell you would only have a tasting room in the middle of nowhere, Vermont, and not in the heart of the whiskey world, like either Bardstown or Louisville. So now they've got him a spot in Louisville. And I'm going to give you the deets. WhistlePig Whiskey has opened what they're calling the WhistlePig Vault. There's a reason for that. It is a new immersive whiskey destination in downtown Louisville, Kentucky, and it's housed in the historic 1911 Louisville Security Bank at 403 East Market Street. The Vault is designed to offer a very different experience from a traditional Bourbon Trail stop, they say. The space blends original bank architecture with interactive whiskey experiences, including tastings held inside the restored bank vault. That sounds pretty badass. Now, like I said, WhistlePig, it's based in Vermont, but this Louisville opening is kind of a return to its Kentucky roots, if you want to think about it that way. Because their founder, Dave Pickerel, everybody knows the name Dave Pickerel, he had deep ties to the state of Kentucky, and company leadership describes this project as a full circle moment. They say the vault builds on recent momentum from WhistlePig's Kentucky-made 10 snout-to-tail bourbon released early in 2025. Now, inside this immersive experience, visitors can explore, and they didn't pay me to say this, but I am going to say it. Visitors can explore several distinct experiences. The bank lobby bar, it serves cocktails, including one delivered in a pneumatic tube system. Okay, well, just like a bank drive-thru, right? The mezzanine blending room, it offers guided tastings and the chance to create a custom blend of aged WhistlePig rye. The Whiskey Exchange also allows guests to dip, seal, and stamp limited edition piggy bank rye bottles. The restored vault itself now displays WhistlePig's recent releases, including the full Boss Hog lineup. Now, I've seen a bunch of pics of this venue, guys. This place looks impressive and fancy and expensive, but I mean, it's definitely worth a look if you're in Louisville, if you're out checking out Peerless or Old Forester or Evan Williams, any of those guys, or even the guys at Pursuit. I think Pursuit Spirits now have a new venue downtown too. It's very cool, and I'm going to have to check it out and report back to y'all real soon. Okay, so here I am today, and I teased I was going to talk about MGP, and yeah, I'm not going to rant about it. I'm just going to talk about it. I'm asking a question. These are the questions that you're only going to hear on the Blind Tasting Podcast, guys. You're not going to hear this stuff somewhere else. And I'm going to break it down for you, what I think about this particular possibility. So as you all know, I own stock in MGP Ingredients, and that's something I've mentioned, full disclosure, right? I have for several years now because I believe in both Brown-Forman and MGP for that matter. So I watch it closely. And my finance guy, I've had him on the show before. He's always keeping me up to date about what's going on in the markets. And I've noticed, and look, MGP, okay, there is no other way to say it. It's crashed from a high of, okay, get this, back in August of 2023. This is just a little over 2 years ago. They were trading at don't zone out on me, guys. They were trading at $123 a share. And today, $25. So you can say, Stark, that's not really a crash. Yeah, well, you'd be wrong. Because to drop from 123 to 25, even be it a slow drop, it's a crash. I mean, it's a disaster. It's an implosion, actually. And it's been in slow motion, really. So today, we're talking about MGP Ingredients, the company behind a lot of the alcohol and the spirits, and they make food ingredients too that end up in the products on store shelves all across the world. Now, the question on some people's minds, and especially mine, which is what got me thinking, and so I want to talk about it, could MGP get bought out? Or could things get bad enough that they might face bankruptcy?
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Okay, it's my pod, so I got the time. So here we go. Let me break this down for you in plain English. And it's only going to take a couple minutes, guys. Okay, so my question is, could someone buy MGP Ingredients? And the answer is yes, absolutely. In fact, MGP itself has been buying other companies for years. It's not unheard of for a merger or an acquisition, right? Well, MGP's been involved in a lot of acquisitions in the last few years. In fact, they bought Penelope Bourbon not that long ago, and they've been building up a portfolio of their own spirit brands. And because they operate in both the spirits industry and the food ingredients business, they're pretty attractive to bigger companies or private equity firms that might want to grow their portfolios. They also just renewed and expanded their credit line with banks, which usually means that lenders feel the company is stable and worth supporting. Now, that kind of move sometimes sets the stage either for future acquisitions or for making a company more appealing to a potential buyer. So, if a larger spirits giant or an investment group wanted to make a move, MGP could very realistically be their target. Now, on the other side of the coin, the other side of the question, guys, could they be at risk of bankruptcy? Well, anything is possible, right? Enron, anybody? I mean, there have been a lot of major companies that have filed bankruptcy and just simply disappeared. Enron being the most notable example of that. Anything is possible, but bankruptcy really doesn't seem like the most likely outcome at the moment. But I want to talk about why I'm concerned about that. MGP's been dealing with a slowdown, everybody's been dealing with a slowdown in demand for certain kind of spirits, especially whiskey and other brown liquors, right? The whole industry's been, I don't want to use the word devastated, but I mean, it's a major headwind that they're facing right now. Dealing with too much inventory, not enough people buying the liquor. When that happens, companies that make the liquid, like MGP, they can feel that pressure. Now, they're also dealing with several lawsuits. I've talked about at least one of these last year, I think. They're dealing with lawsuits at MGP that claim they didn't fully warn investors about how big this slowdown would be. And I mean, who could have predicted the slowdown? I don't know if anybody could have predicted it, but the lawsuit is the lawsuit, or the lawsuits. They're going to have to deal with those, right, wrong, or otherwise. So these lawsuits, they don't automatically mean a company's in trouble. But depending on how they play out, and I believe they're going to play out in favor of MGP. That's me personally. Don't take that to the bank. But I think the uncertainty of how these lawsuits are going to play out could make for potential financial hits down the road for MGP. Now, with all that being said, there's no sign right now that MGP is close to failing. They haven't missed any payments. I mean, think about Uncle Nearest. This is not the story of Uncle Nearest here. These folks at MGP, they haven't missed any payments that I know of. They aren't reporting any financial distress. And the fact that banks just extended their credit, like I mentioned it, out, I think they extended it out to 2030. So they have a lot of faith in MGP. So lenders are still seeing them as solid. So when you compare the two possibilities, could they be bought out or could they go bankrupt? To me, the more likely scenario, at least for the next couple of years, might be a buyout. I don't think it's going to be a collapse. It could just be a buyout. And don't get me wrong. I mean, MGP isn't without challenges, but they've got diversified business lines, like I mentioned. They've got the food ingredients, and then they have the contract distilling, and then they have their own products. So they have good access to credit, and they still have real value to potential buyers and investors. So time will tell. And that's the big picture, guys. That's my take on what possibly could happen to MGP down the road. And no, I don't really know anything. And no, I've got no inside information. But I like to think, and I like to muse, and I like to wonder about these things. I've done a lot of research. I like to think about these things in a meaningful and an interesting way. And so I do. So could they be bought? Sure. Will it happen anytime soon? Well, let's stay tuned. And if I hear anything, I'll be on here to let you know about it, whether it be a special breaking news edition or a regular edition of the podcast. Just tune in. All right, Whiskey Freaks, enough with the serious industry talk. Let's get to my favorite part of the episode, my tasting and review. And today I'm cracking open a brand spanking new bottle of something that you guys, that's right, you all actually voted and you chose this one for me to taste and review today. So thanks to you all for that. I appreciate all your engagement on social media. Your choices were Yellowstone Limited Edition 2024, unopened. I have this stuff sitting here unopened at the house. And I have a Woodinville 90 proof straight bourbon whiskey. And then there was this one. This is the one that sparked the most comments and the most excitement. It's IW Harper 15-year-old straight bourbon whiskey. Now, if you listen to the podcast, you know I've tasted one of their other offerings from IW Harper 50 or 60 episodes ago, and it was their Cabernet cask finished bourbon. And I gave you all the rundown of their history and all that stuff back then. I'm going to run through just a little bit of it again today real quick. So I'm going to do 2 minutes of history like I do, and then I'm going to get to tasting. So the story of IW Harper goes like this. Back in 1848, Isaac Wolf Bernheim, IW Bernheim, well, he came from Germany to America with $4 in his pocket. That's the story they tell. And naturally, he had a dream. He brought his brother over shortly thereafter, and along with a silent partner, he started Bernheim Brothers Liquor in 1872 in Paducah, Kentucky. And that's the western side of the state of Kentucky. They moved their operation to the middle of the state to Louisville, and the brothers bought the Pleasure Ridge Park Distillery in Louisville, and it began operating as the Bernheim Distillery. They survived a costly fire that destroyed their bonded warehouse in 1896, and they opened a new distillery property in Louisville in 1897. Okay, I'm done boring you with the numbers, guys. At some point, they decided to create a luxury brand of whiskey, and they called it IW Harper. Now, there's no mention as to why it wasn't called Bernheim. I couldn't find that. I don't know why it's called IW Harper. Possibly for marketing purposes, they used Harper. I don't know. Fun fact I did find, though, the Bernheim Distillery was one of only 10 distilleries that were allowed to keep making bourbon during Prohibition for medicinal purposes. And so they, unlike many others, survived Prohibition quite well. Isaac Bernheim eventually sold the distillery to Shenley Distilling in 1937. Fast forward 50 years or so. I'm almost done here, kids. In 1992, United Distillers, they were owned by Guinness. They opened a large distilling operation they called the Bernheim Distillery in Louisville. And at the time, United owned the IW Harper brand. But they had a problem, and it was that they had lowered the quality of the bourbon in the United States, and they were focused more on Asia and Europe, especially in Japan, actually, where the brand actually became very popular. Eventually, they stopped selling IW Harper here in America completely. We're getting close, guys. In 1997, Guinness merged with Grand Metropolitan, forming Diageo, which still owns the IW Harper brand today. Though it no longer owns the Bernheim Distillery in Louisville, Heaven Hill bought it back in 99. Remember, they had that crazy fire from that lightning strike in November of 96. Anyway, Heaven Hill owns the Bernheim Distillery now. Okay, Diageo decided to bring IW Harper back to the United States in 2015, and they offer an 82 proof version, not really sure why, and a 15-year offering, which we'll be getting into today. Like I said, they also offer that Cabernet cask finish, and it's an 86 proofer. Now, Harper was known as the hospitality bourbon, and they wanted to fit that image, so they came up with the bowing man. It was a picture of this dude on the label wearing a coat with tails, and he's holding a cane, and he's tipping a top hat. Most historians, they believe this was probably inspired by Johnny Walker's Striding Man, so they kind of copied that idea. And just like the Striding Man, the bowing man was featured in many IW Harper ads, and it's also now prominently featured on the bottle we'll review today. Okay, so the company, mentioned it a couple times, it's Diageo. The distillery, I've seen that it's from the Bernheim Distillery owned by Heaven Hill, but unfortunately there's not enough info out there to be certain where it comes from. You can't get a hold of anybody at Diageo to give you any answers. So I checked all the usual places, including the IW Harper website, no cigar. So suffice it to say, on the bottle, it says bottled in Tullahoma, Tennessee. But hell, it couldn't be Dickel, could it? I don't know. Since they don't tell us and you can't find this information anywhere legitimately, I'm not going to speculate. All I can tell you is I've got a 750 sitting next to me here. It's at 86 proof and it's 15 years old, and it comes from Diageo. No, your guess is as good as mine. Now the bottle design, and I don't always mention the bottle design, but this one has to be mentioned. Now this bottle is a really hard one to describe though. I'm going to have a picture of it in my post on social media when this episode drops. This bottle is super, super fancy looking. I mean, it's not like any other bottle I have in my collection. The stopper, let me get this thing open here. This stopper is heavy in the hand. It is solid. I think I could go as far as to call it sturdy. It's a sturdy stopper. And it's not like some corks that are going to break off on you. This one is fantastic quality. This bottle is beveled. It's short, it's fat, it's rectangular. It's just absolutely high-end looking. On the front of the bottle is their label. It is a diamond-shaped label, and it says IW Harper and 15, so you know you got the right thing in your hand. Now, the fine folks at Diageo say, and it's got the bowing man on there. I forgot. There's the bowing man just above the name IW Harper. Check out the social media. You'll see it. Now, the fine folks at Diageo say it makes the brand look not only welcoming, but also sophisticated and elegant and high quality. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure I can agree with that statement just yet. Not until we taste the whiskey, but we'll find out in just a few minutes. Now, the age, it is age stated. It is 15 years old. And that's one of the draws, I think, that got y'all interested in me too, really, about this. I saw this on the shelf at a nearby liquor store, and I figured for $100, it's $100 for a 15-year-old. Now, I've seen some people, they've said they found it for $80. Okay, sure you did. But other people are paying $120, right? I don't think I'd want to go $120 on something so unknown to me. Again, I don't know where this distillate comes from, but it's 15 years old. The proof point isn't exactly where I'd like it to be, but it's 86. That's legit. You got to take a chance from now and again, right? Right. I mean, you're thinking you got Elijah Craig 18 for 190 to 200 now. And Knob Creek 18 is like 180 now, 185, I think. So, I know the proof points on those are slightly higher, especially the Knob Creek at 100 and the Elijah Craig at 90. That's not that far of a difference for me. And I'm thinking for $100, it's worth a look. The mash bill. Okay, so the best I could find, because again, they're not telling you a lot. I don't understand this. The best I could find is that the mash bill used to be, and maybe it still is, 86% corn. Very, very, very high corn. 6% rye and 8% malted barley. And what I say is, damn it, Diageo. Why don't you tell us what y'all are up to? I hate playing this guessing game when it comes to my whiskey. And frankly, it's not a state secret, is it? I mean, how can everybody, okay, not everybody else, but so many, hundreds of distilleries and thousands of bottles across this great land, how can they tell us exactly what's inside? And then you guys got to play games. We got to do a guessing game here. I mean, look, the history's cool, and yeah, the bottle is pretty badass looking, but you know what would be really cool? If we knew what the hell was in the bottle. Okay, I digress. Today I'm tasting with a Glencairn. And today is going to be my favorite limestone branch Glencairn. So let me get a quick pour of this. I've already opened her up. Alrighty. God, that's a super heavy stopper. That feels so classy. All right, let me talk a little bit about the color. And I always say, never judge the color by in the bottle alone. And this would be a very difficult one to judge the color by because it's beveled and it's got these little diamond bloops all around it. Very difficult to judge the color accurately inside the bottle. You got to pour it into a glass. And today it's a Glencairn. I believe that the color sometimes gives you an idea of the breadth of flavors you're about to put in your mouth. It's my opinion that the darker the hue of the whiskey, the deeper the flavors are going to be. It's not always true, but it is a lot of times. The color of this is, I got plenty of light down here in the bunker. remember when we used to have pennies? Remember before they got rid of the pennies? Remember before Trump did the pennies? It looks to me like a shiny new penny, and I was alive back then, 1982. In 1982, they switched, the U.S. Mint, they switched over from copper pennies to a copper zinc blend where it was zinc on the inside and I think it was clad is what they call it, in copper. And I think if you had a shiny new 1982 penny, that's what I'm looking at here in my glass. It's pretty good to me, but it is a bit lighter than I figured it would be. And in the bottle, it looks darker. It looks much darker inside the bottle. In fact, it has somewhat of a brown tint to it inside the bottle. So that's why I'm checking it out in my Glencairn. And kids, get out your notebooks before you get into your tasting. I use a little notebook. I make notes as I go, and I update them in my Word doc because I'm an old guy. But then, at a moment's notice, I can always pull up that document right here on my phone and refresh my memory about, did I ever have this one before? What did I think about it then? When did I taste it before? And how does it compare today? Wow. There is a lot going on here on the nose. Yeah, I'm getting this sweet corn and like this. I mean, does that surprise you at 80? If it's truly 86% corn on the mash, getting this fantastic sweet corn like that, this terrific fruitiness to go along with it. There's raisin and there's dark fruit in here too, and there's this sweet vanilla, but like a vanilla creamy note in here too. I like to think about that icing. Okay, I make oven cinnamon rolls for breakfast. Okay, I don't. Mostly my wife makes them. Well, they come with that little icing container. That's what this smells like sweet vanilla icing. Yeah, there's like this nice pear note in here too. Guys, there's so much going on here. I feel like I'm doing a terrible job giving you all the things that are in here, but there's so many things to wrap my nose around here, guys. There's just layers here. Let me nose this thing just a time or two more. It's just nice to nose. I mean, it's like candy. All right, let me get a sip of this stuff. Caramel and that. Let me do that Kentucky chew. Just caramel right off the front. That dark fruit I got on the noses here. And that sweet corn. Let me put the sweet corn, because again, if this is 86% corn, the nose, again, very strong. I love it. Very strong on the palate here. When I was a kid, we actually grew a few acres of sweet corn. And you could actually go out into the field. You could walk into the rows of corn, like the 7 feet tall corn, right? You could walk into the rows and you could actually pull an ear of ripe corn right off the stalk. And you could eat it right there, right in the middle of the cornfield. And let me tell you, I did that a lot because there is nothing better than sweet corn off the stalk, in the field, ripe, without cooking it, without doing anything to it. It's amazing. These are true facts, guys. You can actually do this. And that sweetness and that fresh sweet corn flavor, it's here for me. Now, it's not as pronounced as like standing in the field eating the sweet corn, but the essence of it is in here. It's along for the ride is that caramel and that beautiful dark fruit. I need another sip. Yeah. And I found this in some older whiskeys too. It's got that cherry note in here, which in small doses, it's okay. It's not my fave, but here it's a gentle note and it's really adding a lot to the sip. I need to get at least one more sip here, guys. Hang on. So, okay. Yeah. This one took just a minute to open up here. But after a few passes here, I'm getting some solid oak. And there's it's a really nice orange zest coming through too. Just a slight tinge of it. You know I love that. And like I said, just like the nose is very, very layered, very complex, the flavor notes that are in this thing are very complex too. I think if you sipped on this for 30 or 40 minutes, you would just discover so much in here. So just in the 3 minutes that I've been tasting this today, I hope that I've been able to at least impart a bit of that over to you guys. Let me get one more sip. Yeah, I thought this was here. Way back in the background here. Now that I've had 5 sips of this, and there's this really faint minty note. And it's kind of surprising to me for such a high corn, low rye mash bill. But this thing is 15 years old, right? I can see maybe where that's coming from. It's very subtle. It's not disturbing me. It's not yelling at me. But in fact, it does actually play pretty nicely with everything else that's going on here. So after all the sipping now, I guess I probably should tell you about the mouthfeel. The mouthfeel on this one is solid. It's a creamy, it's almost a dessert-like, it's almost got this dessert-like characteristic at this point. It's really a fantastic mouthfeel. Like I said, after the first sip or two, the reason I'm mentioning it now is A, I forgot, and B, it was hitting me, and I'm like, wow, great mouthfeel. So, great mouthfeel here. There is just a ton going on here with this whiskey, and I feel like I'm saying that a lot here, but it's really true. The layers of flavor are just stacked on top of each other. It's like the whiskey finally is showing up and showing out here after, like I said, I've had 5 sips. So you're probably wondering, what's the verdict? Well, I'll have the answer right after this message. Hey, whiskey freaks. Quick announcement here. I wrote a book. Yeah, me, a real book with real stories. It's called Whiskey Wisdom and Bourbon BS. Barrel strength legends, lies, and untold tales. And it's packed with dozens of wild, weird whiskey tales from the strangest corners of bourbon history. And every chapter ends with one question. Was it whiskey wisdom or was it BS? You want to learn about whiskey history and have fun while you're doing it? Well, then you need to grab this book. It's just $10 on Amazon Kindle. It's cheap, it's fun, and all the cool kids are doing it. So don't be left out because you want to be cool too, right? Did I mention it's just $10? Yeah, and you can read it on any device with the free Amazon Kindle app. Just hit the link in the show notes, grab a pour, grab the book, and enjoy the whiskey history. That's Whiskey Wisdom and Bourbon BS. Barrel strength legends, lies, and untold tales. So if you listen to the Blind Tasting Podcast, you know that there are 3 potential verdicts. Are we going to keep it, collect it, or cull it? To keep it means to proudly display it in your liquor cabinet or your bar. This stuff's good for a pour anytime, but there's really no need to stock up on it because it's always available. You can just always find it. Collect it. Grab another bottle or maybe 2 bottles since it's so damn hard to find, or it's so damn delicious. It just may not be easy to obtain either. And lastly, cull it. Use it to loosen rusty bolts or sanitize a dirty toilet. In the case of IW Harper 15-year-old straight bourbon whiskey, I say, keep it. Yeah, absolutely. I think the word of the day today should be elegant. From the bottle design to the nose, which, well, Jesus, it's fantastic. It's got to be one of the best nosings I've done in months, if not a year or more. And the back end of this pour was incredible too. Whatever this juice is, and we don't know, it's a flavor bomb. There's just too many notes to name here. And honestly, I'm not going to lie to you guys, the nose was amazing. The middle was meh. The finish was fantastic. And it took a few sips in to kind of bring it all out. It's really kind of irresistible to me right now. You guys know I'm not a pro. And to be honest, my ascot's at the dry cleaner. So I'm just doing my best here. And guys, the nose on this is so good. So I've mentioned on here before what I call the double cross. Remember that? Well, anyway, I'll explain to you what it is. A double cross is where the nose is phenomenal and it just blows you away and you're just chomping at the bit to drink the whiskey. But then the sip, it's just meh. Yeah, that's not this. Look, I know it's only 86 proof, but it's got the age. It's 15 years old. It's got all the notes and the finish that's going to bring you back for another pour. Well, and another pour, honestly. I could see going through this whole bottle in one evening. It's so easy to drink and so damn delicious. Guys, this IW Harper could be dangerous. And what I mean by that, like I said, it's 86 proof, so I could see myself drinking it like water damn near. And then it's also $100. So it'd be an expensive evening, but it's great. I could see it introducing a buddy or maybe even the wife. If she's not real fond of bourbon, pour them a sip of this. It's got that low proof point for folks that, don't have to always pound down a hazmat. And it's so damn flavorful. Shit, the more I talk here, the more I think I may have to upgrade my verdict to collect. If you can get it, okay, you can get it for $100 right here in Illinois near my house. I mean, it's on the shelf. $100, 15 years, flavors coming out the yin yang. I say do it. I'm going to head upstairs. I'm going to turn on the Huskers men's basketball game because as of today, they're 17-0 and they're number 1 in the Big Ten. I'm going to turn on that game and I'm going to pour me a great big glass of IW Harper 15-year-old straight bourbon whiskey. And last but not least, I got to give a shout out to the farmers, the distillery production guys and gals busting their asses, the warehouse workers, the bottlers, and the truck drivers. These are the folks that make it happen. So cheers to all of them. Well, that's all I've got for today, Whiskey Freaks. Thanks for listening to the Blind Tasting Podcast, your number 1 attitudinal bourbon destination. And go Big Red.